I was not a model student myself, unfortunately. When I came to college, I did struggle and I had those challenges. But I also found those people that were instrumental in helping to keep me engaged with my higher education journey.
I'm in it for the transformation that can take place, because when change happens, a ripple effect occurs, and it impacts families, communities, and future generations.
We want to see students come to our college and get the credential that they want and need to have to change their lives and their families' lives and their own trajectory.
For many, education's the bridge from, say, like their current state to their aspirational state. And I like to know that I had a hand in helping someone take a step towards, that future self.
Having AI at our disposal is all about meeting students where they are.
AI isn't about replacing the human side, but instead amplifying it.
It's able to take a lot of the redundancy out of the day-to-day of the admissions counselor work that a lot of time was ultimately dreaded.
That helps our team concentrate on complex problems when students call rather than answering simple questions.
I do what I do to open the doors of opportunities that may never have existed before, because those opportunities ultimately transform lives.
Visit element451.com and discover how a digital workforce can help empower your team to focus on what really matters.
Anybody who knows Joel knows that Joel has opinions, and he is not shy to tell you them. And Joel, certainly in the last couple years, you have not been shy about calling out the hype around artificial intelligence. So I gotta ask, how does a self-described AI critic really fit inside a company that I have to imagine is investing pretty heavily in AI right now?
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait! Okay, now. From the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your no-fluff guide to artificial intelligence in higher ed. I'm Mallory Willsea, bringing nearly 20 years of EdTech and marketing expertise straight to your earbuds. Higher ed leaders are expected to master AI overnight, but let's be real, no one has time to sift through every headline, hot take, or research report. That's why every Monday, I'll break down what actually matters. Fast, clear, and to the point. Want to sound like the smartest person in the room at your next team meeting? You're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Higher Ed Pulse. Today's episode is about evolution, the kind that forces you to rethink where and how you can make the biggest difference. Joel Goodman has just stepped into a growth role at Squiz, and he joins me to unpack his move from agency owner to tech VP, how his AI critique fits inside a tech company, and where web and digital strategy can actually unlock real change. Joel has spent nearly 2 decades driving web strategy for universities and agencies. Formerly the owner of the Bravery Media agency, he's now VP of Growth Strategy at Squiz, helping institutions of higher learning produce web experiences that increase enrollment, engagement, and donations. Joel, welcome to the Pulse.
Hi, Mallory. So happy to be here.
Oh my gosh. So I just saw you very recently at Digital Collegium, and you got to hang out with your new team for a couple days. We were just saying before we hit record, what a gift that is. What'd you think of the event this year?
I thought it was better. You and I have been going to that event since forever. I think my first one was 2008 in Springfield, Illinois.
Oh my gosh. 2010 for me, Cincinnati.
Yeah. And, I got this feeling there were a lot more young people there. And I felt like we're kind of in a full circle moment where that kind of vibe that you and I experienced in the early days of High Ed Web felt like it was back. And that was exciting because I think I've gone through a decade of ups and downs with that organization and that conference. It's always fun to see friends, but this year felt like the content was great. People were great. There are a lot of new people that are starting their careers in higher ed, like you and I were when we started going to the conference. And so it feels, I don't know. I had some nostalgic moments, I think, in the middle of being around.
Well, this is 3 weeks in a row now for me of being able to interview folks that I saw at Digital Collegium. I had Adam, the Best in Conference winner, on the pod a couple weeks ago. One of the students I met joined me last week, T.Y. Stone. I know you met him too. It and then actually I've got Melanie, last year's Best in Conference winner, coming up next week. So it's fueling a lot of content for me, but I think more so, like to what you just said, more so this year than years past, I really felt like the session content was like really, really strong. Not that it's not ever, but I don't know. It just was really hitting for me this year.
Yeah, I agree. It was high quality, and even the conversations I had were higher quality than I think I've had in past years. So
amazing.
Just if people are wondering, High Ed Web is back. It's just called Digicall now.
Yes, exactly. But this was also like a little bit of your coming out party. Like you are no longer the owner of Bravery. You are the VP of Squiz. And I know you had some colleagues there too. And Joel, I really want to kind of unpack that career shift. Back on Labor Day, I had a really great episode and conversation with Lindsay Nyquist, and her decision to take herself out of the CMO role and into the chief strategist role. And honestly, like that was one of my top performing episodes this year. So it's clear to me that listeners are looking for career guidance and ideas and opportunities, and just what a unique moment to go from owning your own agency to operating from inside of a global tech company. And so let's just maybe simply start there. Like, why did you decide it was time?
So there are a few layers to this. I think, one, the industry is just in a really interesting spot for agencies in particular. And I think when you run a small boutique agency like I was, the pressures are a little bit harder, or a little bit, more aggressive and a little bit more challenging than what you might have if you're one of the really large agencies. And as we've seen, there's been a lot of consolidation in the industry. There have been a lot of acquisitions, including recently we saw R&L. It's kind of a boring acquisition, honestly, compared to everything else that's going on. But R&L getting acquired, lots of the last 5 years, and even plus, like there's just been a lot of movement to consolidate, especially the smaller agencies into these bigger ones, and that makes it difficult for someone like me to compete. Someone that's run on more of an affiliate model with how I've done things. I've had me and contractors for the majority of the time that I ran Bravery, and it worked really well, and we put out really high quality work, and I think I've developed a good reputation around being high quality and strategic and all those sorts of things. But looking at where the industry is going, the challenges we have, sure, consolidation, but then there's like in the US, a federal government that's like openly hostile to education, period. All this funding being stripped away from schools. I looked at where Bravery would be in, 2 years, 5 years, and I just didn't really know where it was going to be. And I had been shifting my focus away from, really focusing on these projects for institutions, and more looking at like, okay, how can I support institutions in other ways? So whether that was supporting other agencies and other organizations, or whether that was doing more consulting work and helping with the strategy side of things. So joining Squiz, the president of USA for Squiz, Anthony Negro, likes to say that he likes to look for a digital spiritual alignment. And so when I was talking to Squiz about just becoming a partner with them, having Bravery use their product and recommend it to schools, I felt that alignment too. Like the way that they think about tech matched how I think about tech. The way that they're looking to support different groups or match the way that I am looking to support different groups. And so just it felt natural to kind of partner with these people, both independently, and then to join the crew, so to speak, and start to work with them from behind the scenes, and hopefully make a difference in higher education in a new way than I had been.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your role specifically? What are you tasked with? Are you managing a team?
Yeah. So to start out, no. I've been in the role as of this recording for a month. It'll probably be a couple weeks longer than that when this comes out. But currently, I don't manage a team, and it's very not hierarchical within the organization. Like, sure, we've got titles and that sort of thing, but as VP of Growth Strategy for AMER and EMEA, which includes the US, Canada, Europe, England, that sort of thing, I'm responsible for growing the company. I'm a growing business, really, is what I'm doing. And so like a lot of this, I think, is first off unlocking my network within higher education for Squiz. Squiz as a digital experience platform owns almost 70% of the higher ed market in Australia, has a pretty good footprint in the UK and Europe, but still in the US, like people might know what Funnelback is, but they don't know that Squiz owns Funnelback. And so there's a lot of kind of, I think, translation of who Squiz is and what we do that needs to be done within the higher education community in the US. And that's where I come in. So it's making those connections. It's raising some visibility. It's finding right fit partners for us, right fit institutions that the DXP and the search works really well for, as well as just looking at like which other agencies and organizations that serve higher ed are out there that fit into what we're doing and trying to bring them in. And then there's some sales in there and there's some typical other things. But yeah, I work with in the US, I think we've got just north of 30 employees in the US now, and that's starting to grow. We just brought on a new vice president of partnerships, and she's incredible and has a great track record. So we're making a big push into the States at this point, and I'm a big part of it, I guess.
Cool. What are some of the skill sets that you honed as an agency owner that you think make you kind of uniquely qualified for this role?
Yeah, so I mean, like I guess one of the things that I've been kind of struggling with coming into this role, I don't know if it's really a struggle, it's more of like a mental battle, I think, more than anything else, is I don't sell in a typical sales fashion. Like I haven't been the person that's like diligently tracking things in CRMs and automating and doing all those things that you would do in a corporate setting, or even the typical things that and maybe they're not as typical in higher ed, but like the really high performing enrollment marketing organizations do. My sales process has always been very relational. And I think especially when you're looking at technology that is a huge investment and powers, the most important marketing pieces that you have in your entire organization, knowing that you can trust the people there and trust the platform is super important. And so I'm hoping that, the nearly 20 years of being there, being helpful, being, extremely objective about things I like and dislike and being extremely communicative about those has earned the trust of the network that I have, and that it's something that kind of helps. And I think that helps me internally too. Like I know how to build those bridges, and I know how to communicate with people, and I know how to win trust with the folks that I work with, as well as our prospective customers or current customers. And so I'm bringing that to bear, I think, within the organization. It's just trying to be a connector, and trying to be helpful and trying to bring the more interpersonal experiences that I've developed over the last 13 years as an agency owner and then 18 years in higher ed to really enhance what we're doing internally.
Tenet of a great leader is that they have opinions, and anybody who knows Joel knows that Joel has opinions and he is not shy to tell you them. And Joel, certainly in the last couple years, you have not been shy about calling out the hype around artificial intelligence. So I gotta ask, how does a self-described AI critic really fit inside a company that I have to imagine is investing pretty heavily in AI right now?
Yeah, I'm a critic. I'm not a skeptic. There's a key difference there. Like being skeptical just means there's no rationale for criticality. I'm critical about everything. Definitely critical about AI, and I think part
and
of
your
it
pizza. You are very critical about pizza.
Extremely critical about pizza. I'm critical about bread. The criticality is just it's just a part of who I am, and it's a part of myself that I like and I want to retain, and so that's why I keep working with it. I think when it comes to AI, what I like about Squiz in particular is that they've been very thoughtful with how they're putting this technology to use within the platform. Funnelback is a search platform, which is pretty widely used in higher ed in the US already, has had machine learning built into it for a really long time. And anyone that digs into artificial intelligence knows that what we call AI is not AI yet. AI does not exist. We have not actually reached that point. It is a marketing term. Thank you, Sam Altman. This is all machine learning. It's all large algorithms. And that's great. And so we've already been doing that for a really long time. And we've done that in ways that are similar to Google search results on billions and billions of data points, whatever else. For your website, we're able to lift those really unique inferences across the data that you have to provide good search results. And then we're bringing that to bear with applying large language models on top of that machine learning in order to develop summaries, conversational search, that sort of a thing. And what's really fun about that is that we have a guardian agent in the background. So like we only train our AI on the content on an institution's website. We're not pulling from Reddit. We're not pulling from some index that Google or Bing has. We're not even querying the wider internet at all. It's the training data in the model, and then it's the database of content that we have that's on an institution's website. And then there's a guardian agent that's checking those results that come back to make sure that they're in it. So we're reducing hallucinations. We're making sure that the results are accurate and are actually being able to be used as a conversion metric. You're able to pull people through and develop journeys through that sort of stuff. And I don't see that a lot in other products. I don't see the explanation of how careful they are, how thorough that checking is. It's been a lot more, at least in my view, a lot more. Here's AI. It's doing either something that's actually really boring or it's doing something that is really questionable. In this case, we're starting relatively slow, but really intentional about with how we're implementing it through the rest of the system. And like the roadmap looks incredible. And so like, I'm super excited about some of the things that are coming down the line. Some other things I don't know yet. Like it'll be fun to see what happens and see how critical I can be. Probably not very critical, but I don't know. Actually, Squiz is pretty open about that stuff.
It's important to have someone in the room who's pushing back sometimes. So
yeah, and people's voices are heard within the company, and that's really, it's important to me, I think. But at the same time, it really is about making sure that I can find for myself that I can still be critical about what's there and develop that critical thought throughout to figure out like, okay, is there a place where this actually fits into strategy and improves what's going on? That's the biggest thing for me. I don't know that a lot of the AI utilization is improving much. And I mean, there's stats all over the place about how companies aren't seeing any ROI from the AI tools they're putting in place. How can we be more diligent about the money we're spending and being able to get a return on that? And Squiz is concerned about that internally. And so that thought goes into the development of the product. And that, to me it assuages a lot of my concern for sure. But then seeing the product in action is equally impressive, and it really does help. And there's room to grow and room to start improving the UX around that sort of stuff.
Here's a quick word from our sponsor. Southeast Missouri State University needed to launch more targeted campaigns faster, yet they were bogged down by manual campaign builds, slow approvals, and vendor overload. With Element 451, they eliminated 5 vendor tools and gained marketing superpowers in one platform. They saw a 13% increase in applications, processed applications within 2 days, and achieved 33 to 35% email open rates. The impact: personalized, automated campaigns running at scale without the drag. Ready to turn your next campaign around in hours, not weeks? Try an agent today at element451.com/agents. Well, something you just said actually tees up the next question I wanted to ask you anyway. You have been watching, participating in, leading web and digital strategy in this industry for like 20 years. And so there's a lot of...
I'm so old.
I mean, you're a ripe 32, Joel. You got started at the age of 12.
At 12 years old.
Look at you. But you just alluded to all those headlines that are out there, like the MIT study, like, oh, AI and tech is failing left and right and blah, blah, blah. Like, Look, my position is it's not the technology that's the problem. It's like probably the culture, the leadership, the lack of process. That's why it's not being successful. Like the tech probably works, but like feel free to push back on me on that. Like I'm really curious about your opinion on this.
So I'm just underwhelmed by the implementations that we have with AI, and I think particularly generative AI. It's the lowest hanging fruit possible. Like what I've been thinking about is that a chat interface is like the oldest UX pattern we have. Like when you think about the start of the web, so is that really innovative? Like cool, chatting with a bot, like is that innovative? Where I get excited about large language models is when you can use those models to look at the patterns and data that you have and then use it to recommend things better. So you use it in tandem with what we can do as designers and as communicators and as strategists, not replace that front end. And I think dropping a chatbot in something is lazy, whether that's ChatGPT's implementation, but I think it's easy for people to understand, right? And that's why they do it. I get excited, and I talked about this on I think Jeff Dillon's podcast like a year ago or something. But like I get excited about the ideas of using LLMs to look at our data on the back ends of our websites or within our student data and start improving experiences around it. And I don't think that chat is the best UX for anything really. Like maybe for communicating one-on-one with each other, but like there's so much more power that you can get out of what large language models and AI have to offer when you break out of that UX context. And we've been stuck in the same place for 4 or 5 years of just chat back and forth. There hasn't really been any huge advance within the technology we have. There's still hallucinations, and that's just indicative of the technology itself. There's billions and billions of dollars just being set on fire for something that's not actually improving. And we're just happy to do it. So I think like, I think that the tech is really cool, but the tech hasn't improved that much. And you have to start asking, is the cost financially, culturally, I mean, like the fact that kids are talking to chatbots instead of each other is like really depressing to me. There's no human connection anymore. Like, all right, I guess that's one way to do it. But then you see like news of suicides and everything else. It's just, is the cost that we have as humanity worth incremental, and I mean like small incremental, like it takes 2 years for an incremental improvement on these things. Like that's the slowest innovation pace I've seen in a really long time. I just don't know that it's worth it. And I think the way to make it worth it is to stop thinking that chat is the thing. Like there are so many other ways that this is being used in the background. It's just chat's visible. And that's more what I think about in higher ed is like, how can we be using these technologies for improving our content, improving, doing auditing across our websites, not just giving answers to people in a search or giving answers to people in a chatbot. How can we use it to actually improve the work that we're doing? That's the stuff I get excited about. And that's the stuff that like I was working on my own on the side, before. I was like, how do I use these models in ways that are going to actually improve what higher ed's doing and the data that we have and the understanding we have of the work that we do.
So you mentioned it at the start of the episode, but everyone is definitely still buzzing about that Ancora RNL acquisition. Like, let's talk about that a little bit more. Like, it's a unique opportunity to ask someone about this who just chose to shut down his own agency to go join a bigger company. And so there's some parallels here, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think it definitely echoes or has echoes of a big reason why I decided honestly I've been thinking about this for a while. Like, what do I do with Bravery? Do I pivot? I was looking at I've been trying to do I've been trying to productize for years, and that's been difficult. And part of that is due to that sort of consolidation, the amount of private equity that's come into the industry and kind of scooped up all of these things. I worry about, this goes back to the AI thing too. I really worry about homogenization within higher ed. And like, we've always had websites that all look the same. And are we at a point where like, cool, all our strategies are going to be the same? And it's like, put a chatbot on the website and like hope someone figures it out. Like, when brand doesn't start to matter anymore, when the brands are all the same, like, how are we rethinking what we do, and does it even matter? I don't know. These are all very existential, and they're probably like going to depress most of the listeners. But it's like I look at that sort of thing, and it's been going on for so many years. This consolidation. I don't know that. I think diversity of thought and diversity of strategy and diversity of design and diversity of relationships is only better for our industry. And so the more this consolidation happens, I think the less better. I think we're worse off for it. I just don't think our institutions are gonna benefit from much of that. And my hope is that institutions will start looking at the smaller agencies that still exist, or at least the independent agencies that exist. You know, name a few names, like my friends at Simpson Scarborough, like FastSpot still does really good design and dev. You know, talking with a bunch of these, like, I mean, the New City guys, a lot of these like smaller agencies that are still doing really, really great work deserve a shot at this stuff and deserve a shot at your strategies. And I think that, yeah, I just think you'll see a lot more when a university or college decides to choose someone that's a little bit more independent. I think you'll see more creativity come out of that group. It's you know, I'm biased because I owned a small agency, but like, and it's not to say the big agencies can't do good work. I think the little guys deserve a shot, you know?
Yeah. My, concern is like what happens when the same few players just own every pipeline and platform and all of the data. Like, bigger can't always be better, because consolidation also might result in less innovation, or right, less competition means less choice, less desire to invest in research and development and figure out what's next. And this like centralization and control of student data is a whole other topic. Like, I think from the last couple weeks, I have certainly heard plenty of campus leaders indicate some quiet unease about how much power a handful of enrollment vendors now have. But I don't know that anyone's willing to say it publicly and on record.
Sure, of course not. And I think a big issue with that is everything becomes way more opaque. There isn't the transparency that we may have once had, and there aren't as many people to hold the companies to account, and that becomes difficult. So yeah, I think my encouragement is just, if you're an institution in that position, like, try to hold whoever to account. Like, you have the power to make it better. You're the customer. You are the one paying these companies. Like, keep them honest. Keep them on their toes.
What's giving you optimism right now as we close out 2025, heading into a new calendar year?
Yeah, at the beginning of this year, I would have said nothing. And I think I probably did say that to a few people.
I'm not surprised, by the way. I was almost half expecting you to say that right now. So.
Yeah. But I think, honestly, like, going back to, to bring this full circle, being back at Digital Collegium and the conversations I've had, and I'm headed to EDUCAUSE. And so, like, the conversations I'm going to have there. In fact, I think this is going to come out when I'm at EDUCAUSE, Mallory.
Amazing. It's like we timed that up, but we didn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're welcome.
And then I'm supposed to be at AMA. And so, like, the conversations that I've had and the outlooks that I'm hearing from people in higher ed, like, things are getting better. They're still really challenging, but I'm more encouraged by the thought processes that vendors and agencies are putting in place to help decrease the amount of stress that people have. And so I'm hoping that encouragement keeps going, and that we'll have institutions that are willing to start trusting agencies a little bit more, start trusting software vendors that are interested in doing that, and find partnerships in those places. Because we're, with so many challenges and with all the layoffs that have happened, with no funding and no budgets, like, we've got to find a way not to do more with less, but to do better with less. And the only way you can do that is making sure that you optimize in those areas you don't need to be doing work in.
Right on. And I think that's the way we close this one out, because 10 out of 10, can't agree more. Thanks, Joel, so much for jumping on the mic with me today. Obviously, we've talked about your new role, but where can listeners find you if they want to connect and maybe learn a little bit more about Squiz?
Yep. Joel Goodman on LinkedIn. I'm also at joelgoodman.co on Blue Sky if you happen to be there. And then visit squiz.net. It's probably easiest just to connect with me on LinkedIn. I can chat with you there, but squiz.net's the website. We've got a cool product. Check it out. And if you want to talk to someone who's actually fairly objective about it, despite being paid by them, I am happy to tell you.
I love it. Well, good luck with the back half of your first 90 days. Y'all, we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the Higher Ed Pulse. The show is a proud member of the Enrollify Network, home to Higher Ed's largest collection of podcasts. Enrollify is where higher ed goes to grow. So be sure to check out our other podcasts, webinars, video clips, blogs, and more. Visit Enrollify.org and subscribe for all the latest details and content drops directly to your inbox. Enrollify is brought to you by Element 451, the digital workforce platform for higher ed. Learn more at element451.com.